as my colleague has introduced me, I'm Matthew Song. I'll be conducting the Singapore DevOps Playground, and specifically it will be, the mic is not for projection, it's for recording only. Are you able to hear me in the back? Any issue? Yeah? Okay. So anyway, for any of you that have not connected to the internet, it's at wireless@sg. Just provide your phone detail. You'll be provided with a one-time password, and you'll be able to log in. You will be needing the internet connection to download and fork the repository that we'll be using, as well as running the Jenkins. The piece of paper that I provided contains 3 URLs. It will be the Jenkins URL, the SonarQube URL, and Artifactory. The most important one will be the Jenkins URL. That's where we'll be conducting the playground, specifically the Blue Ocean pipeline. So, okay. So just a brief introduction about me again. I'm a certified cloud-based engineer. Coming, I believe, March will be my first year anniversary with ECS Digital. Most of my time I've spent there, I've been working on the cloud-based software, specifically Jenkins. I dabbled a bit with HashiCorp's technology, specifically Terraform. That is the main script that I was using in setting up the playground that we'll be using today. For that matter, I will actually be making the repository publicly available for everyone, so you may just take it home and run it on your own, including with a very detailed README that will be running through our entire playground. Okay. So this is the agenda for today's playground. I will be introducing to everyone what is Blue Ocean, with a brief discussion as well as comparison of the old version of the Jenkins pipeline, which is called scripted pipeline essentially. And then we'll be moving on to the main meat of the playground, which will be the actual hands-on coding. And finally, it will be a bit of conclusion and some thoughts and exchange. Now, what is Blue Ocean? It is essentially an updated UI built on top of the pre-existing Jenkins software. So whatever you are able to do on Jenkins, Blue Ocean simply just builds on top of it to give it a more sleek and modern look to it. Because if any of you have used Jenkins, you'll notice its look is slightly outdated, honestly, compared to the more modern softwares that many of us may be more used to using. Okay? It is done using the same groovy language that the previous pipelines have been built with, the infrastructure as code, essentially. It is almost, okay, I won't say it's identical. It is slightly more restrictive, but that is the advantage in the sense that it manages developers from being able to break the system, essentially. I'll explain that later on. Now, taken from the CloudBees website, this is the goal for the Blue Ocean. My personal highlights will include the pipeline visualization, the diagnosis, and the personalization. The reason I bring that up is because Blue Ocean tends to give a lot of very nice and intuitive feedback to you. Now, which the previous Jenkins pipeline did have, is just not as intuitive, which I will show in a bit. Okay? So this is the old pipeline view. Now, as you can see, the green, red, and yellow, it's serviceable. You definitely understand what's going on. Red definitely says this is where the stage failed. The green, success. Yellow is unstable for whatever reason. Okay? Now, it's serviceable, but personally, doesn't look very nice. Okay? I myself prefer something that is more modern, more sleek, and more eye-catching. And more importantly, which I'll be emphasizing, if you look at it, you would not be faulted for thinking all of this will run sequentially in the sense of stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, 5, and 6. That's actually not the case. The SonarQube scan and the checking of last build time were actually steps I ran in parallel. But you look at this, there is no way for you to tell that those stages will actually run in parallel. The Blue Ocean's UI will fix that. I will show it to you later. Now, as for the comparison, one of it is the logs, or the logs when you're looking at the Blue Ocean pipeline. Now, if you're talking about the .txt file or however you save the Jenkins logs, those are identical because it's just the log output of what Jenkins has done. What I mean in this case is when you are using Jenkins from the web browser and you click to try and view the stages and see what is going on. As you can see here, when you've divided up the stages appropriately, you will actually be able to see what Jenkins does at each part. So it's a lot more organized. In the case of the old scripted pipeline, if you click the console output, you just see it vomit out all of this information, which, again, helpful for troubleshooting, but if you have like a 1,000-page log, you're going to need to use the Control F function many, many times to find out what's going on. Okay? Whereas the Blue Ocean one, the moment you see the red color to show where is the stage failure, you can immediately go there and then see, like, okay, so this is where it works. You can just copy the error and start debugging from there. Okay. So another thing is the user input. Now you'll notice that compared to the previous slide, the color of Blue Ocean now is a bit of a blue color. Sorry, if you look at it on your browser, it will be more of a cyan color. Okay? The reason I feel that this is important is because if you return back to the old scripted pipeline, this is all you see, that the Jenkins is waiting for your user input. If you were to just go somewhere else and then you just look at it, it's like you'll be wondering, why is Jenkins taking so long? When actually it's waiting for you to say, can I proceed or can I not? Whereas in Blue Ocean one, the moment you see this blue color, you may know, oh, Jenkins is waiting for user input, so you need to either click yes or click no, and then it will proceed. Now, on top of that, I mentioned that the color is the important thing. Now you'll notice it's a gray color. Gray color makes it very obvious that this is an aborted build for whatever reason. Okay, you either click aborted, or in some cases when the Jenkins build is running, there'll be a stop sign here. You can just abort it for whatever reason. Say you notice an error that you know it will fail later, you can just stop it immediately. Then instead of a red color, it will tell you gray. So that immediately tells any person who's just looking at it that this was a build that's aborted by a user and not because it failed for any reason whatsoever. Personally, I like the look of that. Now, remember that parallel stage that I mentioned? You see here? Very obvious now. You can immediately tell these stages were done in parallel. Okay, the sequential will of course be like this. Parallel stages will be like that. Very intuitive, very user-friendly, and the feedback is very good compared to the scripted pipeline stage. Now, on to the main meat of our playground, which will be the coding. Now, if you will please open a browser, I will need you to access the following. Now, first is GitHub Repository. Now, just look for JPEG store GitHub. Okay. You are looking for the JPEG store that is done by MyBetis. Okay. This is the GitHub repository that we'll be forking for our playground. Okay, so at the top right-hand corner, oh, I'm not signed in. Okay, give me a second. No. Two-factor authentication, of course. Okay, while waiting, feel free to log in and fork the repository. Okay, let's see. Okay, so as I was saying, you will be going to this repository and you will be forking the repository over here. Oh. Okay, sorry. Apparently I already forked it. Okay, so after you fork it, you will notice that instead of the MyBetis organization being here, it will be your username. Okay, so once you do so, you may view the MyBetis in your own time. They are readme of what the application is, what it's supposed to do, its various tests, etc., etc., etc. Now, they did an update recently, about a week or two back, that has broken my Maven playground, unfortunately. So what you will need to do is edit the POM file, sorry. Okay. Let me show the step one more time. Okay, you just go down. You see the pom.xml file. Click on it. Okay, and on the right, the pencil icon. Click on it to edit the POM file. At the bottom, you'll see, okay, my one has already been previously modified. I apologize. You are supposed to see something like 31-snapshot. Remove the dash snapshot. I know it's quite silly. I myself don't understand why when I try to build it with Maven, it complains. It says it cannot find some dependency or other. Just remove it. Okay, the pom.xml file. You just go down a bit to this parents field over here. Okay. Then you're looking for the version field. You will see as 31-snapshot. Remove the dash and snapshot. Once you are done, let's go to the bottom, click commit change. Just to make sure, you may take a look. Okay. Hope everyone's done with that. Now, on the piece of paper, you'll find the Artifactory link. Please go to your Artifactory link. I'll give you some time to type it in. You may simply just type the IP address and colon 8081. The web browser should fill in the rest of the details. And for those of you who might already be done and waiting for the others, let's give them a bit of time. If you are curious about the GitHub repository, or if anytime you're unable to keep up with what I'm doing, you can just type GitHub, ECS, digital. Okay, that will bring you to our GitHub repository. And you'll find this is the publicly available repository. You may click on it. And this is the playground. If at any time you feel a bit lost or unable to keep up, you can simply scroll down. The README that I've created will provide you the exact steps that I'm actually giving to everyone. I mean, if you're a bit ambitious, you may actually go ahead and try and move forward ahead of me if you like. And so this is the entire README. Okay, so returning back to Artifactory. Okay, everyone's able to follow? Done already? Okay. I'll need you to log in, so go to the top right, let's click login. By default, the credentials are just admin and password. Obviously, this is not secure, but this is just a playground. This is not a production environment. Okay, so once you have logged in, go to the left, the little human icon, click on it, there's admin. And look for the repositories part, because JFrog Artifactory is responsible for storing the artifacts that we will be building with the JPEG store. So JFrog Artifactory will be where we're pushing it, and we need somewhere to push it to. So this is what we'll be defining in the repositories. Click local. Okay. And on the right, click new. Okay. Since we will be building a Maven project, the JPEG store, let's click Maven. And for the repository key, it will be libs snapshot local. So libs dash snapshot dash local. Okay. The rest of the fields you may leave as is. There's no need to touch them. Okay. From there, click save and finish. And you should immediately be able to see it here. And create a new one again. Same, another Maven repository. This time, it's libs release local, libs dash release, lease dash local. Okay, so once you're done, you should be able to see the two new local repositories that you have created. Everyone fine? Okay. So there's one final touch-up. You need to go to your Jenkins URL. Feel free to input it there. Once you've, excuse me. Once you've accessed the Jenkins URL, Let me click Manage Jenkins. There will be two things that we'll be configuring. The Maven tool, the specific location that I've installed in all the Linux machines, as well as the Artifactory URL. So first, we will be doing the Artifactory URL. Let's go to the bottom. Let's click Configure System. Now you just go through, look for the subheading that defines the Artifactory. You'll see it over here, Artifactory. Okay? And then click on it, add Artifactory server. For the server ID, in all lowercase letters, let's type Artifactory. Artifactory. Yes. For the URL, I apologize, I forgot to tell you to keep your Artifactory link open, because what you're supposed to do is just click it and copy. Okay. After copying, you will need to delete off some of the parts. If I recall correctly, it should be up to Artifactory. And that should be done. Okay. Okay. So once you have done, okay, I repeat your Artifactory URL again. It will just be http:// your IP address, port 8081/Artifactory. Okay. And once you are done, bottom right hand corner, you should see test connection. Click on it. Okay, let me scroll up a bit more so it's easier to see. This is what you should be seeing. Found Artifactory, the version number. If for whatever reason is repeating that it cannot find it, it's in red text. Oops, I was hoping to avoid that. Okay, it's in red text. That means there's probably a typo somewhere. Does anyone have any issue or all able to find? Okay, good. Now, after test connection, remember to fill in the credentials. Again, it's just admin password. No issue. Okay. Once done, verify that the connection's stable. Jenkins is able to find the Artifactory without any complaints whatsoever. Then you can just click Save on the bottom left. Okay, so now we've done the Artifactory step. Now we need to define the Maven tool. Once again, return to Manage Jenkins. Scroll down. You'll find the global tool configuration. Click on it. And scroll down. There'll be various tools that you can actually build with. For this playground, we will be using Maven. So click Add Maven. For the name, again, just leave it as all lowercase. Just type Maven for simplicity's sake. Uncheck the tick box for install automatically. Okay. For the Maven home, I've already pre-installed Maven on all of your instances. It will be /var/lib/apache-maven-3.6.0. Oh, typo. Yes. Okay, so this is a good example. Okay, if for whatever reason you made a typo, you will find that Jenkins will tell you it's unable to find the Maven tool for whatever reason. Please look again to make sure that, okay, just look at the Maven tool again, make sure it's fine. The moment you get it right, Jenkins stop complaining. This yellow line will just disappear. Okay, and if you don't see the yellow line, you're good. If you see the yellow line, you made a typo. Okay, my typo obviously is Maven, not Mave. Okay, so let me make that correction. Okay, and voila, yellow is up, yellow is gone. So Jenkins is smart enough to be able to say that that is unable to find the tool. Now the reason that it's complaining is that for whatever reason, it's not able to find it on the master. Okay, if you look at the error message, you'll find that it was actually complaining that it couldn't find it on the master, but it may find it on the agent. In this case, for simplicity reason, we will be doing the build on the Jenkins master. As a best practice, you should not be doing it. The master is only supposed to delegate it to Jenkins agents to carry out the build. Since we are doing a playground and because of time constraints and everything, I will be running everything on the Jenkins master. So in this case, since you cannot find a Jenkins master, that means there was a typo. Okay, so let me fix that, and done. Okay, so once I'm done, click save. And let's see, yes, okay. So that's just the configuration done. Now on to the actual building of the CI pipeline. On the left, you see Open Blue Ocean. Click on it. Now, are any of you unable to access the Blue Ocean page, specifically because you're using Google Chrome? Because I tested it just this morning, Chrome was not cooperating with me, and that is why I'm using Firefox today. Okay, so if it keeps timing out, you're unable to connect, try switching browsers. That might solve the issue. Now, if you don't have to do this part, by the way, if you were to click Create Pipeline right now, this is probably the error message you'll be getting, because it says you don't have permission. Why? Because I haven't logged in. And if you already logged in, you will not be seeing this error. So again, it's just admin, password. Okay, click sign in. This is what you're supposed to be seeing when you log into Blue Ocean. Okay, so the repository, the JPEG store repository that we forked out is from GitHub. So choose GitHub as the location that we'll be storing our code. And for connecting to GitHub, just create your access token here. Jenkins Blue Ocean will be smart enough to fill in all the details that it needs to be able to carry out this step. Okay, so you may look at all the permissions that this token will be granting to Blue Ocean. Okay? So for the token description, let's put in something generic like playground test, for example. Okay? At the bottom, click generate token. You do so, okay, you'll see a random string, the token. Let's copy it and return back to your Jenkins. And paste your access token here. Okay, then click connect. Okay. If you are part of multiple repositories, multiple organizations, select the one that you fork the JPEG store into. Okay, so in my case, there's this one. And you'll find a couple of repositories that I have. Just click JPEG store. If for whatever reason you have too many repositories to filter, you can simply use the search function. Just type JPEG store. Okay, so JPEG store, create pipeline. Give it a bit. Currently, to explain what is going on, the Blue Ocean, okay, it's reporting that there are no Jenkins file in JPEG store. If for whatever reason you fork a repository that is actually already has a CI pipeline built in, it will actually scan the Jenkins the Jenkins file and fill up the entire CI stage for you. So sometimes it takes a bit of a while because it needs to go into the various directories looking for the Jenkins file. If it cannot find it, it will try to create one, and this will be the step. Since there is no Jenkins file, it's completely empty, this is what you'll find. Okay, so for the first step, we will be building a Maven project. So we will need a build step. Okay, so name your stage, it will be the build. Okay. Personally, I always like to put a print message at the start saying starting build. Okay. If that was a bit fast, I apologize. On the right side, you will see a list. You just click add step. Okay. And you'll see all the possible steps that you can add via Blue Ocean. There's plenty for you to go around, but if I recall correctly, for the purposes of this playground, we'll only be using 3 or 4 stages. You may feel free to tinker around in your own time later. Okay, so for the Maven build of this JPEG store, we'll be running it, we'll be building it via shell script. So it'll be at the top, shell script. And the command will be as follows: mvn clean install, which is the goal of the Maven build. And for quickness sake, we'll be skipping the license check. So it's -d license.skip equals true. Okay, so this is essentially our Maven build step. Okay, this is how we'll be building the project. Okay. When you click out of it, it will automatically say you don't need to click any Control S or anything like that. Okay, you click on it, then you can see pin message, which is what I did for starting your build, and the shell script, the Maven clean install. If for whatever reason you made a typo, you can just click on it again, and you can just fix it. Okay. Now, ideally, what we'll do now is we'll click save. Now, this stage is essentially doing a Git push. Remember the JPEG store repository that we forked out and then we linked to this project? This is why we need to make that connection. Because here, it's like I will do initial commit, for example. Okay? Click save and run. Okay, so after doing that, what happens is Jenkins will automatically push the Jenkins file to the repository, and then it will try to run the CI build. You see it's trying to build now. I recommend doing this step because this Maven build, because the JPEG store is so large, it will take like 6-7 minutes plus. So just leave it running in the background. We will continue to modify the Jenkins store. Now, obviously, in proper development and production, you should not be modifying the Jenkins file while you are testing it. It's bad practice. It doesn't make sense. There should be no reason for you to do it like that. But again, time constraints, we're just going to go ahead with it. Okay. In case you want, yes. Sorry? It failed already? Oh, right. Okay, yes. Sorry. Yeah. I missed a step. Okay. My apologies. There is a tool definition that you need to do. Give me a second. Okay. What you need to do is click edit. Okay. For MacBook users, Command S. For Windows users, it should be Control S. Welcome to the pipeline editor. This is essentially the same thing as taking the Jenkins file and just dumping it into a text editor or IDE, whatever you want to use. Okay? So as you can see, the echo step and the shell script step that we've defined, they are here. The step that I completely forgot to do, my apologies, is the tool definition, which is tools. Okay, so before the last curly brace, type tools, T-O-O-L-S, space, curly braces. Okay, then type Maven to tell it what tool you are trying to define. And the name of the Maven tool is Maven in all lowercase. Okay? If you had named the Maven tool another name, this would be where you will use that other name. Okay, so click update, then click save. Fix Maven. Okay, so save everything, save and run.
Is there another thing besides Command S that I can do?
I do not believe so. Sorry, can you click on it again? Yeah. Click edit. No, does it not bring it?
Okay, because it was saving my website.
Oh, yeah, probably because it didn't load. Okay, is everyone able to add the tool definition? No issues? Okay, wonderful. Okay. So, ideally, okay, yeah, like I said, all the stages that we've previously defined. And at the bottom is long Maven build. We will not be looking at this, okay? It will be like watching paint dry. No reason to look at this whatsoever. Okay? So continue editing. Okay, now, time constraints again, we will not be doing the best practice version because ideally what you will be doing as a developer, you add a stage, commit, add a stage, commit, then Jenkins will keep testing to make sure everything is going fine. For time constraints, I will just be pushing through and implementing all the stages at one shot. Okay. So, after a build, we'll be doing testing. So, for this stage name, just name it testing. Okay. So, the shell script, what tests will we be running? It will be a Sonar Cube scan. Okay. So, add a shell script step, then run Maven mvn Sonar Sonar. Now, we need to define the Sonar host URL because it's slightly different from the port that SonarQube is using. By default, the SonarQube port is supposed to be 9000. If you look at the piece of paper I've provided you, you'll notice the port is actually 8081. Okay, so in order to tell the Maven command what SonarQube URL will be adding the following. There's dash d sonar. Oops, sorry. D sonar dot host dot URL equals HTTP // and you'll be copying the IP. Oops. Okay, so you'll be copying the IP, and after that, again, to speed up the process, we'll be skipping the license check again. So it's dash D license dot skip equals true. Okay. So confirm that it's done. Look. Okay. Everything should be fine. Okay. Again, best practice. What you would do now is you would save and upload it to the repository, and it will trigger the Jenkins build. Again, time constraints, so we'll be proceeding as per normal. Okay. I will now be showing you how to implement a parallel stage, because what we've done here is obviously sequential. You want to add parallel? Very simple. Just click the plus sign at the bottom. Voila, you now have a parallel stage. Okay. You'll notice that the node essentially, you see now, it's called testing, and the entire stage is also called testing. What Blue Ocean does essentially is that whenever you create a parallel stage, it will immediately just choose the first node and name the entire set of parallel stages as testing. So in this specific case, since you want it to be slightly more intuitive or understand what's going on, just click on the node and rename it. In this case, we're running a Sonar Cube scan. Let's name it as Sonar Test. See? Me, guys, rename. Much more intuitive. Sorry? Oh, sure. Yes, Maven, sonar. Then you provide the URL with the following flag dash d sonar.host.url equals the URL.
Is your URL on your own piece of paper that you have provided? This is his instance.
Yes.
So you have your own
Yes, please use the URL link. If not, when I go to my SonarQube instance, you'll find it will be two separate scans for two separate projects. And I want you all to be able to see the scan on your own laptops. Okay. Done? Okay. So this stage is more of a placeholder stage, but it will be showing the Jenkins environmental variables that we'll be injecting into it. So we will be naming this stage something like print tester credentials. Yes, okay. So for that, add a step. Since it's a print, obviously it will be a print message. Following the message will be something along the line, the tester is $, followed by curly braces, and in it, please put tester in all caps, preferably, so that you know that this is a Jenkins environment variable. Okay. For now, just leave it as it is. I will explain how to inject it in just a moment. Okay, so next one, another parallel stage. This time we'll be calling it print build number. So print build number. So once again, add a step. Another print message. Something along the lines of this is build number, $, and curly brace. For this one, in all caps, once again, it will be build _ID. Okay? Now then, this is the step where we'll be using the pipeline editor. Okay, so you look and see all the steps that we've done. You see the stage name testing, parallel. Then all the stage that will be running in parallel. So if you are more comfortable using a text editor rather than a UI because you don't have to click, I can fully respect that. You can simply just use it via this editor. I have some criticisms of using this editor, but we'll leave that for the conclusion later. Okay, so in order to tell Jenkins to use environmental variables, you actually need to replace this single quote with double quotes. Because in your own time, you can test this out. If you simply left it as it is, you print it out, it will print out $ curly brace tester, which is obviously completely useless for us. We actually want to know what it is. Okay, so for the two echo statements that we've created, replace the single brace with, not single brace, the single quote with double quote. Okay. That's all we'll need to do for this step. Okay. Click update. Okay. Visually, it will not look any different. Blue Ocean will not feedback to you that you have included double quote instead of single quote. That's fine. Do not worry. Okay. Now, that tester credentials that I just created is essentially a Jenkins environment variable. And this is how we'll be creating it. On the right, okay, ensure that you're not click any of the nodes. Because if you click one of the nodes, you'll see add step instead of this. This is what I want you to see. Okay, the pipeline settings, agent, and environment. This is what we'll be doing here. Okay, so I'll be creating a new environment variable. Now, as we called it, tester in all caps, please. Value, just put in your name. If you want to put it as tester1, sure, that works too. For me, I'll be inserting it as my name. Okay, so done. So now we've defined the Jenkins variable. Now, the more I steal among you might have noticed that I didn't define build ID. That's normal. There is, I believe, around 12 or so Jenkins variables that are predefined, one of which is build ID. Okay, you are obviously not supposed to override this because Jenkins will be the one to define it. Okay, I believe some others will be like job start time among other ones. Okay, so this can be useful information that you might want to inject into your logs or make it very obvious when you're doing your build project so that you are able to manipulate it however you want. Okay, for this next step, it's unfortunately a bit more complicated. Okay, so after we've done our build, we've done our test, now we'll be pushing it to JFrog. Okay, so once again, I'll be doing a print message. Start JFrog push. Okay, JFrog push. Okay, so this step is slightly more complicated. The reason being is Artifactory has a lot more definitions. Even though we've already defined it in Jenkins, there's actually a few more steps that needs to be done. Okay. Now, instead of a shell script, if not, we will actually be running a pipeline. Okay, look for it. Run arbitrary pipeline script. Okay, this is the stage that we'll be using. So click on it. Now, I'm going to try and type everything out, explaining along the way what it is. If for whatever reason it fails, I will be cheating. I'll be returning to the README and just copying the entire command in. Hopefully, it works just fine. Now, okay, first thing that we will need to do will be definition. So it'll be def server. So tell it what is the Artifactory server that we'll be using. So Artifactory.server. This is where that previously defined Jenkins configuration that we use for Artifactory. This is where we'll insert the name. So here, Artifactory. Okay. Why is... Sorry, give me a second. Why is it not cooperating with me? Sorry, you don't need to do this. I'm just testing something. Okay. This is not supposed to be happening because what you're supposed to do is at the end, what you will do as a coder, you click enter, new line, so that it will be easier to read out everything that you will be coding. If I have to type everything as a single line, it's going to be very hard for me to see what went wrong and what's going on. So I strongly suggest everyone go to the publicly available repository that I've created. Okay, I apologize. This is not how it should be. Okay, so go to the repository. Okay, again, if you are not sure how to find this page, simply Google GitHub ECS Digital. It's probably going to be the first link. Click on it, and you'll find today's DevOps Playground, Singapore. Third, Jenkins Blue Ocean. Okay. Click on it, and you'll find the README, the content page, etc., etc., etc. Okay, go to the building the pipeline step, defining the Jenkins file. You'll see essentially every step that we've just gone through. Okay, the Sonar cube, the build, etc., etc. So right now what we are looking at is the J4 Artifactory step. Okay, so it will be here. Okay, as I said, it's quite a lot of code, very prone to human error. Okay, but I will still explain exactly what we are doing. Okay, so as I explained, the server Artifactory is telling it where we'll be pushing it. The name of Artifactory is what we define in the Jenkins configuration. The build info and the Maven build is essentially telling it how it's supposed to be built and what we're going to be doing with it. Again, the Maven 2, same thing as what we've defined in the Jenkins Global 2 configuration. As for the deploy server, that's simply telling it what Artifactory repository we are supposed to be pushing it to. So as we've already defined, libs release local, libs snapshot local. So if for whatever reason you name it differently, you may just change the names here. Okay. Build info, tell it it's a Maven project, where to find the POM file. The goals, once again, clean install, skip the license to speed up the process. Okay. And tell it to capture the environmental variable, and what is the name of the project that we're building, JPEG store. Then publish this build info into the Artifactory server. So select everything. Control C, Control V. Again, it's supposed to give you a nice, organized way of looking at it. I'm not quite sure why it's printing out as a single line. Perhaps it's a bug with Firefox. Perhaps they pushed out a new update on Jenkins Blue Ocean, which broke something else again. Since it's in development, these things are bound to happen. Okay.
It's fine. Cool.
Okay. So as I pointed out, it's fine for him. So it could just be Firefox or it could just be me. Okay. Ideally, if we look here, it should probably be more organized. Yes. Okay. So this could be an example of why you prefer using the pipeline editor, for example. A lot more organized, because it's exactly the same thing. Okay. Whatever you do here will translate into the Blue Ocean pipeline and vice versa. Okay. So we're done. J4 push. Now, next step will be the user POM that I said that we'll be doing. So once again, the name of the stage will be deploy POM. Deploy POM. Okay, so for the step, it will be wait. Wait for interactive input. Okay, that's what we're waiting for. Okay, so let's click on it. As for the message, something like deploy to production, for example. Okay. Finally, due to time constraints, we will not be carrying out an actual deployment, so this will simply be a placeholder stage. I would still recommend putting something there so that you understand like how a CI pipeline ideally will look like to you. Okay, so name the stage deployment, for example, and there's a print message of deployment complete. Okay, and once you're done, this will be our CI stage. We're not completely done yet because Jenkins still needs to try and run it all to make sure that the CI state actually works. Okay, so click Save. And say CI complete. Now again, ideally, the best practice is at each stage, you make a change, you commit, let Jenkins run the test, and do it again. Because of my 1 hour time constraint, we just skipped it and just built the entire pipeline altogether. Okay, so click Save and Run. Now while we're waiting, if you go back to your repository, okay, you go back to your JPEG store repository over here, you will actually see a Jenkins file. And you notice that the message that you typed, in my case is CI complete, is over there. So that is what the description is for. It is essentially the GitHub commit message. Now, if you want to follow the best practice, for example, with all the change requests or whatever is your procedure in your organization, this is where you'll probably be putting in the specific Atlassian ID, for example. Okay, so returning back to the Jenkins JPEG store. Thank heavens the build is successful. Okay, so, sorry, I realized I went a bit fast. Okay, so you'll see the first one is a failure because of we didn't define the Jenkins Maven tool. Second one, ideally, will be a success. So it'll be a nice green color, as I said. This one, still running the SonarQube scan, so it'll take a while. Okay, so just click on the most recent one. And before clicking the SonarQube one, let's click one of the other ones, for example. Oh, sorry. Not that one. Click one of the other stages is what I meant. Okay, you click the print message. You see in my one, it's printed out our environment variable. This can be useful if you want to print whatever credentials you want. But more importantly, like you notice the SonarQube stage where we have to define the SonarQube URL. Say you have to change it in the future for whatever reason, and for let's say you have 5 different locations that you use a URL, it'll be very frustrating to change it at 5 different locations. You can simply put it as a Jenkins environment variable. Then from there you just change it once, then the rest of the code will run just fine. So that's one reason why you might want to use the injection of such Jenkins environment variables. Same thing again, you click the print build number. Yeah, this is build number 3. Okay, so since this is the, as you can well, okay. See, this is the third Jenkins build for the JPEG store 6, build number 3, ideal. Now, as I mentioned, CloudBees push an update that unfortunately has caused a bug in the UI. Because you see, it's waiting for the deploy prompt, big pause button. This is supposed to be a blue color. It's not supposed to be green. Because green indicates a success, that everything is done. Obviously, from this, it's not done. So this shouldn't be what it is, but it's fine. CloudBees, as I'm aware, is looking into it, and they'll probably fix it in the next update. Okay, click on the deploy prompt stage. Let's go to the bottom. You see the message you type, deploy to production. Okay, you may click proceed or abort. For me, I'm just going to click proceed. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes the feedback is a bit slow, so I would recommend if you were to click proceed one more time, you see some error message. This is telling you that you've actually clicked the button already. So you're clicking a button that so-called doesn't exist anymore. So it's telling you that, essentially asking you why you're clicking it again. Okay? So what you're going to do is you just click refresh. Deployment is complete. Okay, so essentially that sums up the deployment of a CI pipeline from the build step all the way to the deployment step. Okay, if you want to confirm it, you can go to the Artifactory link that you have. Okay. Oh, sorry, not refresh here. Okay, let me re-log in first. Admin. Password. Okay, sorry. Go back to the home page of Artifactory. Voila. See, JPEG store, the name of the project, then we name it 3 because it's the third Jenkins build number. Or SonarQube. Fresh. One project analyzed. If you want more details, you can click on it. Well, I mean, ideally, we didn't really define any rule set for it for the SonarQube to run the scan, so it'll probably not complain much. The only thing I believe you can look at is probably the code coverage. Yes. These are all specific to the JPEG store application, so I will not be running through it. So I'm going to show that. That is essentially our JPEG store CI pipeline from beginning to end. Now, if for whatever reason you've lost your Jenkins infrastructure, everything just crashes and burns, okay, you can simply go to the Jenkins file over here. It's now stored in your GitHub repository. Now, unless GitHub and Microsoft overnight crashes and burn, which means you have bigger problems to worry about, okay, this will be safe since it's in a GitHub repository. Now, if for whatever reason you come here, you go like, okay, as you're editing, say your cat walks over your keyboard and suddenly you lose part of the steps, no need to worry. It is stored on the GitHub repository. In fact, for the matter, even if you were to click update now, it will complain. It will say that the curly brace or something is incorrect, the format is incorrect, so you won't be able to do. So actually, if you click out of it and you access it again, all the steps are now magically back. So it's wonderful. My main complaint with the visual one is, okay, let's say click update now. Unspec token at line 51. Where is line 51? That's my main criticism of using the editor here. Okay, what I would do personally is I would just copy out everything, then paste it in an actual IDE or editor. Sometimes, in fact, the one that I use for my MacBook is the Atom IDE. It actually has a Jenkins file plugin that gives you a lot more feedback. And it has the numbers which tell you which line is giving you the problem. Okay, so that's how I would do it if you want to do it from the text editor. Okay, so done. And that is essentially our CI pipeline. Oops. Okay, so conclusion, that will be an entire CI pipeline. As I showed, it is very much more intuitive and much more user-friendly to use. Because okay, I understand for more experienced and seasoned programmers, you probably prefer to work on the line-by-line basis with the actual code itself. I understand that. You can use the pipeline editor, or you can simply just copy out the code, put it in an IDE, type it out, and then just copy it back in. Then from there, Jenkins, Blue Ocean will automatically build up all the stages, all the names and everything, all the notes. It provide you a very nice visual feedback, which I believe is the greatest strength of Blue Ocean. Visually, it's very much easier to understand what is going on and which stage is doing what. Okay. Now, if you're interested in more of what we do, we are actually conducting Jenkins training at April 2019. If you are interested to learn more about Jenkins capabilities, how to build your projects and all that, feel free to approach us. In addition, if you want to jumpstart your company's digital transformation journey, we also run DevOps courses, partner with SMU. The links are as follows. We offer both 1-day and 3-day courses. Essentially, it's talking about digital transformation. It is a version of what I've done, but specifically of building a CI pipeline, but a lot more detailed, as well as explaining the best practices and why you should be doing this, and so and so. Now, and that concludes my playground. As for the deployment step for the JPEG store, I do believe we are working on that being our next stage. So if you are interested in the deployment of JPEG store, most likely we'll be working with the Terraform scripts. Feel free to join us at the next playground. Thank you for your attention.